Hello, and welcome to today's show, Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Burgess, passionate inspirational speaker, author, poet, and entrepreneur. Good morning, and welcome to Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. I'm so delighted that you joined me this morning. Today is Wednesday, August 29th. I want to give a great big thank you to all of those of you who are listening today. I also want to give a great big shout out to those of you listening around the world. I'm delighted and so grateful that you tuned in. I sure hope you're enjoying a fabulous day today and that you're having a fantastic week, because you know what? In the grand song of the universe, life is very, very short. It's short and sweet and oh so precious. So I hope you're making a difference in your own life, because when you do, you also make a difference in someone else's life. Now, a lot of folks ask me, how do you make your life count? How do you make it count for something? Well, it's really very simple, very, very simple. You make your life count day by day, step by step, moment by moment, every single day, 365, 24/7. That's what Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count is all about. You can learn more about Legacy Living by visiting the Gloria Burgess website. That's GLORIA, B as in boy, URGESS.com. That's the Gloria Burgess website, gloriaburgess.com, or by visiting Facebook, facebook.com/DR for Dr. DR Gloria Burgess, PhD/. I have a very, very special guest on my show today. Her name is Megan Scribner. Megan is a person who makes a difference in her own life and in the lives of so many others throughout the world through her work as an editor and as a leader. I met Megan last year. It was early last year, January or February, or maybe even a little bit before that. We met through our common interest in leadership and in books, in particular in being of service to leaders through our books, through writing and editing. So Megan and I met through a big leadership association when we were both invited to feature our work through one of their publications. So last year, we did an interview for that group, and shortly after I launched this radio show, Legacy Living, I reached out to her asking her if she would like to be a guest on my show. I'm so glad she said yes, and I know you'll be glad too. You'll see as you listen to the show that in many ways her outlook on life and work pulls together the many threads of what my own life and work are all about. In fact, you've heard me talk about some of these threads on this show. The themes of gratitude, love, kindness, generosity, compassion, and of course, imagination and the music of possibility. My conversation with Megan will be aired in two parts. Part one is being aired today, of course, and part two will be aired next week. Megan Scribner is an editor. She has over 30 years of experience editing books, essays, and reports. Megan says that she has been a very, very fortunate editor in her work, very fortunate in that she works with a wide variety of writers, established as well as first-time authors. She enjoys working with them to strengthen their writing and even more to help them find what is at the heart of their work, to help give their work voice. In essence, she strives to help each author, whatever the subject, to write and to lead from within. This commitment to creating space and lifting up voices is central to all of her work, her editing, her volunteer work in the local schools and community, and to her website, Teaching with Heart, Fire, and Poetry, and her new project, which is called the Thank You Teachers Project. Boy, I just love all of this work that Megan is doing. Megan, thank you for being my guest on the show today, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Gloria. I'm grateful to be here. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. Thanks so much.
Me too. Thank you. Well, today we're going to be talking about you and your work, and particularly your book called Leading from Within. And first of all, I want to say this about this particular book. This is one of my favorite books ever. I love all the poems that are included in it, and I love it that this is a go-to resource, and I'm going to say a treasure, really, for leaders. I teach from it in my courses. I use it at retreats. You know, we all know what a challenging assignment leadership can be, especially for today's leaders. Megan, would you talk to us about your book, Leading from Within, and could you first maybe give us a sense of the book so that my listeners can kind of visualize what we're talking about?
Sure, and thanks so much. It's always so lovely to hear when a book, something that you've worked on, works for other people, and just to hear you talk about it is just music to my ear. So thank you so much for that. The book itself, it's a small gift book. It's like 7-inch square approximately. It's got a lovely cover, if I do say so myself, and then within it is 93 leaders who reflect on poems that have meaning to them in their life and work. We ask them to write short pieces on the poem, so about 250 words. So the book itself is, on the right-hand side, is the poem that they select that has meaning to them, and on the left-hand side is the short essay that they've read, a reflection on the poem. If you can read the book from start to finish if you want, or you could go in by chapters or just by opening the book and seeing what pops out of you. It's got a lot of different ways to enter the book. And I think what it is that it's small, it's a gift book, it's one of those that you can just reach out and hold and find your way in. So that's one of the things we really were aiming at, was that it's something that that can be a companion to you in your work and life.
Yeah, thank you. I love that you talked about the cover. The complete title is actually Leading from Within, Poetry that Sustains the Courage to Lead. And you talked about the cover, and it's just this incredible black ground with this fire, this flame just burning in orange and gold. Megan, could you tell us a little bit about just the range of leaders that you include in the book? What was your process for finding them? Can you just talk to us about working on the book itself?
Sure. Yeah, and I agree. When we saw the cover, Sam Intrater and I, who are as my co-editor and co-writer, we were so delighted because it really has this spark of the flame, but also that sense that with leading from within, that there's a deep fire and ember within each of us that it taps into. So it seemed to work on so many different levels, which we were very excited about when we saw. So the people in the book, there's a wide range of leaders in the book. When we decided to focus on leaders, we didn't want to narrowly determine or describe who would be in the book. We really cast a very wide net, and we went to some more of the traditional ways of thinking about leaders, but we also opened it up so that anyone who found our call for submissions could write to us and thus become the leaders in the book. So we have doctors, lawyers, teachers, coaches, parents. We have heads of nonprofits and businesses. There are leaders from many different religious faiths. We even have an Episcopal priest who is also a commercial fisher person. And we have high, well-known leaders such as the founder of the Vanguard group, John Bogle, or the co-founder of MoveOn.org, John Blades, and several members of Congress. to give a sense of the range of these authors, just in one chapter alone, we go from Peter Senge. There's a psychotherapist. There's a professor at the U.S. Naval Academy that teaches English there. There's a pastoral musician, 2 physicians, 2 founders of nonprofits, a high school administrator, and a member of Congress. So I think that gives you the sense that it's really a very wide range, and it's all mixed together because from the different fields and backgrounds, they have so much to say to each other and so many things that they have both in common and that are different that played side by side strengthens what they have to offer, each one of them. And then we also were really fortunate to have Madeleine Albright write the foreword, Parker Palmer wrote the introduction, and David White, the poet, wrote the afterwards. So I think they're just remarkable pieces that they wrote, and each time I read them, I get something more out of them. So we're just so fortunate to have them on either end of the book, and then all these many, many leaders within.
Well, thank you, Megan. You know, the spectrum of leaders, I often find in my own work that, you know, many of the people that you mentioned, the types of professions that they're in, sometimes they don't think about themselves as leaders, like, you know, people in the clergy, for example, or physicians. I know some of my clients who work in healthcare, you know, when I talk about leadership, they go, "Oh, is that what I really am?"
Right,
you know,
exactly.
So it's marvelous, the spectrum that you have represented in the book, Megan, and I know when I first picked up the book, the metaphor that popped into my mind was of a large coffee table, photo narrative, and you've described this as a small gift book, but I think of it in that way because the poems are kind of like a word picture for me, and the narrative written by these various leaders also form a kind of a word picture as well. So I wonder if you might comment about the format of the book and just tell us more about the essays and the poetry combination.
Sure. So I feel the very same way. One of the things that's in working on the book, in reading the poems and the essays as they were coming in, some of the poems I knew before, many of them I did not. But as I read the poem, I would tend to read the poem and then read the essay and then go back to the poem. And that dance between the two of them, they brought so much out in the reading of each that if I knew the poem before, odds were that I'd find something that I'd never heard or seen in it before. Just, sometimes it would just knock my socks off, that I just go, wow, that was in there. Didn't see that one coming. Or it would be a new poem that I would be either have my own interpretation of it really quickly, something that resonated for me, or I was a little puzzled by the poem, like I wonder what that poem's about. And then I would read the leader's reflection, and it would just bring out something in that poem that would be so real and true because I read it through their eyes. And then having read it through their eyes, I began to see it in a different way, and it seemed to reflect an element of my own life at the same time. So I think there's this lovely dance between the poem and the reflection that the reader gets to enter into the same dance, and that your appreciation and understanding of the poem and the essay grows from that going back and forth between both of them.
Yes, thank you. I love the dance and the reflection, the mirror, the reflection. Can you say a little bit about your process and what might have been your favorite part, if it's possible to pick one or two moments? What was your favorite part of doing this work?
Yeah, this is the Leading from Within is one of 3 books. We started with Teaching with Fire in 2003. Leading from Within in 2007, and our latest is Teaching with Heart in 2014. And to be honest, these books are the best work I've ever done in terms of, they were such a joy to do. They